Imagine standing at your 10-year class reunion with a drink in your hand. Around you, old friends are talking about the houses they have just bought, the executive titles they have recently earned, and the investments that seem to be growing faster every month. You smile, you congratulate them, but somewhere deep inside your chest, you feel a pressure you cannot quite explain. And beneath the noise of the room, one question keeps repeating in your mind like a broken record. What secret about life did they discover that I somehow missed? Welcome to the world of the late bloomer, the man who seems to spend his youth searching for direction while everyone around him accelerates ahead. But what psychology reveals about this journey may surprise you. The brightest and most enduring fire is often the one that takes the longest to ignite. So, if you feel as though you are still standing at the starting line while everyone else has already crossed the finish line, this video is not merely here to comfort you. It is a map that explains why your delay may actually be preparation for a rise so deeply rooted that it cannot easily be shaken. Most of us are tormented by what psychologists call the social clock, an invisible timeline that tells us when life is supposed to happen. You are expected to have a stable career by 25, own a home before 30, and have complete control of your life by 40. When you fall out of rhythm with that clock, society quickly assigns you a label: lost, unfocused, immature, a failure. And the worst part is not that other people believe these things about you. The worst part is that eventually you begin to believe them too. But your inability to fit neatly into those predetermined stages may not be a sign of weakness. It may be evidence of a psychological structure that is unusually sensitive, complex, and unwilling to live dishonestly. Some men can easily separate their work from their identity. They can perform a role, collect a salary, and go home without allowing that role to touch the deepest parts of who they are. But perhaps you cannot. Your internal warning system, often experienced as cognitive dissonance, responds too strongly whenever your external life contradicts your inner values. You would rather face uncertainty. You would rather begin again from nothing. You would rather endure the embarrassment of appearing directionless than spend your entire life building a castle on land that never truly belonged to you. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in depth psychology, warned that a person cannot live for too long inside a borrowed identity without eventually paying for it through inner fragmentation. Some people who succeed very early encounter the most severe identity crises in middle age because they built their entire lives upon foundations they never had time to understand. They became successful before they discovered who was actually pursuing the success. During the years when you believed you were moving backward or standing still, your brain may have been undergoing a process psychologist Edward Tolman described as latent learning. You were not merely collecting knowledge from books. You were building an enormous internal database about how the world actually works. You watched weak systems slowly collapse. You saw how poor processes create predictable failure. You learned the hidden rules of human relationships. You began recognizing the unspoken motives behind loyalty, competition, insecurity, and betrayal. You noticed patterns in markets, organizations, and human behavior that no textbook could fully teach. Those who choose stability early often develop deep expertise within one narrow field. But during your years of struggle, you may have been learning something broader. You were learning how the entire system operates. Another critical ability is often developed in the darkness: distress tolerance. Because you have fallen so many times, you eventually have no choice but to learn how to look directly at failure without collapsing. And the moment you understand that failure is not the end of the story, that it is only another variable in the equation, you gain a form of freedom that cannot be produced by motivation alone. The confidence of the late bloomer is not built on blind hope. It is built on a stack of evidence. Evidence that you survived what once terrified you. Evidence that you recovered after rejection. Evidence that you found another direction after the old one disappeared. Evidence that you can enter uncertainty without losing yourself completely. This is closely related to what psychologist Albert Bandura called self-efficacy, the deeply rooted belief that, regardless of what happens, you will eventually find a way forward. You may worry that age is slowly taking away your intellectual ability, but science tells a more complicated story. While raw processing speed may peak around the age of 20, crystallized intelligence, the knowledge, vocabulary, judgment, and experience accumulated throughout life can continue developing and may not peak until around the age of 50. This helps explain why research using data from the United States Census Bureau found that the average age of founders behind the most successful high-growth startups is approximately 45. Industry experience, Emotional maturity and pattern recognition are often far stronger predictors of success than youth and recklessness alone. When a man finally moves beyond his period of stagnation and steps into the light, he carries a kind of presence that cannot easily be imitated. He speaks less, but when he speaks, his words carry weight. His conclusions are not built from competition, insecurity, or the need to appear intelligent. They have been shaped by years of observation, years of mistakes, years of watching carefully while other people rush to be seen. Carl Jung called the deeper transformation behind this presence individuation, the process of removing the masks imposed by society and becoming the most authentic version of yourself. This rarely happens at 20. At that age, you are often still occupied with gaining approval. You are trying to become impressive. You are trying to become desirable. You are trying to prove that you belong. You are still wearing identities handed to you by family, culture, school, and ambition. Only when the energy of youth begins to burn away do deeper truths often become visible. However, there is a very thin line between becoming a powerful, mature man and becoming trapped in regret. The final test of the late bloomer is not how much money he eventually earns. It is how he chooses to tell the story of his life. If you view the last 10 years of struggle as wasted time, you may become bitter. And even future success can be poisoned by resentment. You may finally achieve stability, yet still punish yourself every day for not achieving it sooner. But those who truly succeed learn to reinterpret the past. They stop treating their history as proof that they were late. Instead, they begin to see it as the detailed blueprint for the person they have become. Every failed project taught you something. Every wrong direction eliminated an identity that did not belong to you. Every unsuitable job revealed another value you could no longer betray. Every collapse forced you to build a stronger internal structure. What once appeared to be confusion may have been your internal compass working exactly as it should, filtering out the paths that were never truly yours. This transformation often moves through 3 stages described by transition theorist William Bridges. The first is the ending, the stage in which you release an old identity, role, or version of your life. The second is the neutral zone, an uncertain and uncomfortable period in which you are no longer who you used to be, but you do not yet know who you are becoming. The third is the new beginning, the gradual emergence of a new direction, identity, and purpose. The neutral zone is usually the most painful stage. It is the place where nothing seems clear. The old structure has disappeared, but the new one has not yet formed. You feel suspended between 2 lives. You cannot return to the person you were, but you have not yet met the person you are becoming. Yet this ambiguous space is not empty. It is deeply creative. In the silence of the neutral zone, new psychological structures are beginning to form. Like a seed beneath the earth, nothing may be visible from the surface, but underneath, roots are moving deeper into the soil. Success without endurance can create arrogance, but success after repeated failure often creates humility and resilience. Consider Colonel Harlan Sanders, who became widely associated with building the KFC franchise later in life after experiencing numerous professional and business setbacks. Or Vera Wang, who entered fashion design at 40 after earlier ambitions in figure skating and journalism did not become the final expression of her life. They did not bloom late in the negative sense of the phrase. They bloomed after their experience, identity, skill, and opportunity had finally aligned. They bloomed when they were psychologically ready. The world is moving faster than ever, yet it seems to be losing depth. It is suffocating beneath noise, performance, and shallow versions of success. People are rewarded for announcing before building, for appearing before becoming, for displaying confidence before earning it. That is why society needs late bloomers. People who do not move because the crowd approves. People who move because their vision has been sharpened through fire. When you rise, your purpose is not only to succeed for yourself. Your life can help recalibrate the culture around you. It can remind people that real value is not found in speed alone. It is found in truth, depth, integrity, and the ability to build something that remains standing after the excitement fades. So, if you are currently living through a period in which nothing seems to be happening, remember this. These years are not empty. They are expensive. They cost you certainty. They cost you approval. They cost you the comfort of believing that life will unfold according to a predictable schedule. They may be lonely in a way that is difficult to explain, but they are not worthless. At the same time, do not allow your potential to remain trapped forever inside the words almost and someday. There is a difference between being refined by a difficult season and hiding indefinitely inside the fantasy of future greatness. The difference between a person who eventually creates something meaningful and a person who remains permanently trapped in potential is not always talent. Often, it is the willingness to leave the safety of imagination and face the scratches of reality, to begin before feeling ready, to risk being ordinary, to risk being misunderstood, to risk discovering that the first attempt will not be good enough. Reflection matters, preparation matters, self-knowledge matters, but eventually you must act. Your journey of rebirth does not begin when the world finally notices you. It begins the moment you decide to rebuild your life in silence, one belief at a time, one habit at a time, one difficult decision at a time. It begins when you stop asking for permission to become serious. It begins when you accept that no one is coming to rescue the person you could become. And when you return, do not return merely improved. Return transformed. Become so different in your discipline, standards, courage, and self-respect that even you struggle to recognize the person you used to be. Your story does not end in obscurity. It may begin there. So, if this journey speaks to something you have been experiencing but have never been able to name, we genuinely want to hear your story. Leave a comment below. Sometimes, your honest words may become the exact source of strength another man needs to keep moving today. And do not forget to subscribe as we continue exploring the hidden forces shaping the deepest parts of the human mind. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are not late. You are being refined so that when your fire finally rises, it will burn in a way that no one can easily extinguish.